Welcome, everybody, to the Professionally Evil Perspective, starting season 3 officially in 2023, because we have the authority to just change our naming structure however we like. So this is now season 3, episode 1. I'm Nathan Sweeney.
I'm Kevin Johnson.
Kevin, did you have a good New Year? I feel like that's the question you have to ask at the beginning of a year.
I feel like you're not allowed to say no to that because they say Happy New Year, so you have to be happy.
Unless you have a reason, you know, like, yeah, no, I got arrested or...
No, I wasn't arrested. I let me be very clear. My New Year's Eve was my ideal New Year's Eve. I did nothing.
I don't even remember if I stayed up until the like my kids did not know it was New Year's Eve the day before. Their friends were like, "What are you doing for New Year's Eve?" And they're like, "It's New Year's Eve."
Like, what are you talking about? Yeah. I don't know. So I was up, but I was laying in bed reading a book.
Nice.
And Denise and Sarah came in the room saying, "Whoa, New Year's Eve!" And I'm like, "Okay." And
we are boring old farts.
Let's be no. I know I'm a boring old fart. I will be 50 years old next month, and I say that because I am fascinated with the statement. I will be half 100. I don't know why. Half 100. I don't know why I like that phrase so much, hilarious. But that's
awesome.
Yeah, I'm old, fat, and lazy.
Very cool. I mean, yeah, I guess that's very cool. You know, it's always better than the alternative, right?
Exactly, right? Like everybody's like, "Oh, I wish my kids never grew up." I'm like, no, I don't think you mean that the way you're saying it.
50 does feel old. It's like, I think it was Eric. I don't know. Somebody the other day, they were like, "Yeah, you know, middle age is rough." And I'm like, you know, the average age expectancy for men in the U.S., do you know what it is?
Like 70
or like 68 or something like that. I'm like, you are way past
middle age. Yeah. I'd like 50 to be middle age, but at the same time, I'm not sure I want to be around.
Oh gosh, I know. Yeah. If we could get rid of the rest of the people, like if it wasn't for all the people in the world, I think it would be a great place.
Way better than it is now. Yes.
Well, speaking of people,
and getting rid of them.
So this article came up, I think, right at the end of December, right? Like right before Christmas.
Yeah, it had to be. It had to be. And here's the problem. I read it. I giggled, and I think I threw it at you. I think I'm who told you. I don't think you told. I think I sent it to you and said, "Hey, look at this! Isn't this funny?"
I think everybody was talking about it at the same time.
Yeah. And basically the idea is, do you have the article? We gotta find the article.
So I've got several articles here. Let me summarize. James Dolan owns was it the Music City Group? Something like that. Yeah. Madison Square Garden. Yeah, he's the CEO of Madison Square Garden Group. And so they own the Music City Hall, whatever that place is.
Radio City. Why can't I think of
it? I don't know either. I had it right before I said it.
Radio City Music Hall.
That's it. Thank you very much.
Radio City Music Hall. There you go. But also like Madison Square Gardens and lots of other, you know, event type facilities.
Well-known New York places.
Exactly. Now I can't find my link. So
basically, this woman's daughter was on a field
Girl Scouts, right?
And the woman, and I don't remember her name, so I'm not trying to be rude and call her this woman, but
I got it right here. Kelly Conlon.
Okay, so Ms. Conlon was the chaperone on a field trip. They go in to see the Rockettes, and she was kicked out. That pun was intended. And what they did is, she walks in, security walks up to her and says, "Are you Ms. Conlon?" She says, "Yes." And they say, "Thank you very much. You have to leave."
And they knew where she worked and her name, right? I think that was...
Well, and that's why they kicked her out, was she works for a law firm, and the law firm is currently involved in a suit against the company that owns, and they have signs up and everything else. And it boils down to a very simple thing. They are running facial recognition, and the company has acknowledged that they are running facial recognition. And they're basically scanning the crowd, and they're like, oh, she works for this law firm. She's not allowed here. Go kick her out. And that's what they did. And this is fascinating to me. Right? We talk about China and all this kind of stuff. And I want to be very clear. My opinion of this is drastically different than it would be if it was the government. Like if New York City Transit was running this type of facial recognition.
I got some bad.
I
got some bad news for you, dude.
No. What I was going to get to was I would have a different opinion. I don't know that I agree with doing it either way, right? But and my assumption is city, state, federal governments are running this type of stuff as well, right? But in this case, looking at this one case,
so
the very first question I have.
Okay, yeah.
How do they get a picture of this lawyer?
That's a great question. And how is it tied to where she worked, right? Like, so they know, hey, we have this ongoing active lawsuit with this group of attorneys. And my understanding is the attorney's office and the individual attorneys themselves were sent notice that they would not be allowed access. They were told in advance, you will not be allowed access to any of these facilities while the lawsuit is ongoing.
And I will say, my understanding is she was not directly notified because she's not on the case.
I read somewhere that she was.
No, I don't know, but what I read was that she wasn't, but that she had gotten the notice from the firm.
Okay, so I read an article that implied one way or the other she knew about it because she said that, well, I thought that had been overturned by some other case, and so I just ignored it.
So this wasn't a surprise, and I think that's important to note, is that it wasn't a surprise to her. It was a surprise they were actually doing.
So the defensive side of what's the guy's name? Dolan or whatever his name was. The owner, the guy who has deployed this, Dolan, that's his name. The argument there is, hey, they have ongoing litigation, giving the attorneys access to the facilities to just come in and video whatever they want to video, record whatever they want to record, interview whoever they want to record. Like giving them access to my facility is not required because it's a private facility that I own. And so that could harm my case. And so I'm just going to block them during this litigation period.
But you know as well as I do that his main reason is I'm a petty dick. And
I don't know.
Because let me be clear, I'd do the same damn thing. So and maybe I'm just a petty dick.
Let's put it in. I mean, let's just talk about it rationally. If somebody sued Secure Ideas and it seemed to be a very superficial, stupid lawsuit, and they're like,
well, of course it would be because there's no reason
right? But now we have, let's say we're hosting, Jennifer's like creeping in.
Yeah, Jennifer's
we're recording, by the way, Jennifer, just so you know.
I love the fact you say we're recording and she jumps out like she hasn't already been.
Her anonymity is gone. Like she's now going to be on the internet for all time.
Totally.
Oh gosh,
but it's okay.
So let's say somebody sues Secure Ideas, and we're hosting an organization's meeting downstairs in our training room. We have the ability to say, hey, we're not going to allow folks from this company, from this lawyer, to come into our facility. And if our attorney says, yes, this would be a bad idea, if they come in, they could take pictures, they could do stuff that would harm you in the case, and it would be better to just block them. That seems reasonable to me. If we take the facial recognition part out.
Yeah, I totally can understand that there are examples that this is a reasonable reaction.
Yeah. Yes. So when does it become unreasonable? Or does it become unreasonable? Like at what point does it say, hey, they're using this technology to do this thing, or they're doing it on a larger scale, or that's what I struggle with is like, at what point do we say that's not okay?
So here's the example that I talked to somebody else about just a little bit ago. I was talking to a reporter. We were discussing some stuff, and I said, okay, let me ask you a question. This place used it to block a lawyer. Okay. And we all know the lawyer jokes, right? People don't like lawyers, whatever. So, but let's ignore that for a second. If instead of blocking attorneys that were doing an active lawsuit, the Music City group or whatever put up a sign that said, if you are listed on the sexual predator list, we won't let you in and we use facial recognition to determine that you're on the sexual predator list. Would your answer, not yours, but your answer be different than, hey, you're a lawyer, we don't like you, and whatever, right? And I can see the idea that it's different, right? Like, oh yeah, no, I don't want those sexual predators around me, blah 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 blah, whatever, right? But here's the problem with that statement, and the problem is to detect the sexual predator, the rapist, the mugger, the whatever, right? You have to run facial recognition on every single person, right? And that's the thing that most of these articles kind of glossed over, I noticed, was that it focused on, well, it recognized her face, and it's like, yeah, but it looked at everybody.
Well, so
and it recorded everybody's. And I guess my question is, and I honestly don't know where I stand on this. Like, I don't know whether I'm okay with it or not okay with it. I think this falls under the same argument I have as deepfakes.
Okay.
I see negatives, and I've said this before, and I know you've heard me say this. I think deepfakes has a very high aspect of people abusing it for things like revenge porn and stuff like that. But I would be adamantly against any law banning deepfakes because you can't get a holodeck without deepfakes.
Right. Yeah, the potential use for the future is more valuable than the damage.
Right. And now let's jump back over to facial recognition. You know this. We've talked about this before. I meet lots and lots of people, and I like some of those people I meet. I say that jokingly because I just hate all people. But I have a horrible memory for names. I've worked on it. I've read those books that say, like, here's how you memorize names. And I try, I really do. I do let me say your name back to you 2 or 3 times, whatever, right? I just can't do it. I forget names. I have long wanted, it's actually why I bought a pair of Google Glass. What I wanted was, you walk up to me and say hi to me. I want my glasses, as an example, to just whisper in my ear.
Oh yeah, here's who this is.
That's Nathan.
That's the.
And you know him from Secure Ideas, and he's this, and his wife's name is, right? Like, but, and I didn't say your wife's name because I wasn't sure if she would want it there. I want to be clear, I did not forget her name. But you see what I'm saying? Like, but to do that, this idea of facial recognition
is necessary.
It has to work for me to get that personal, hey, Kevin, you know that person.
Yeah. Well, if we break down how you would create a law against it, the issue I have is any law that bans that would get really close to banning, hey, I've got people that stand here and they know what everybody looks like. Yeah. Because we are already doing facial recognition everywhere.
Yeah.
It's just, here's our list of our most wanted people. We pass this around to all the law enforcement or to our security guards or whatever, and they scan faces. So we said, okay, well, now we have a tool that does it automatically. And it's the scale, I think, that makes people uncomfortable because it empowers us to do a lot more than maybe we realized, than what we could have done before. But
yeah, scale is definitely what, right? Like, I'm okay with that thing happening because, the effort to stop it is ridiculously hard and everything else like that. But the minute you have that thing happen 500,000 times at once, now, right? Like, okay, now it becomes more important that we fix it. Excuse me. I'm sorry. I think that the reality is we're not going to stop this.
Yeah, I don't think so.
These things are happening. We already have where your camera detects a face and focuses in on it. We already have the ability to do this kind of stuff. We're not going to get in front of this train.
No. I gave a talk at I think it was B-Sides OK 2019, so like 4 years ago almost, on the privacy implications of all of these cameras in vehicles and Ring doorbells and all of this stuff everywhere. Yep. And once we combine machine learning, facial recognition technologies, and all of this data input, faster internet speeds with, back when, what's the cell phone service? I'm going blank.
I don't know.
What is your
I want it.
So whatever 5. Whatever. 5G. Thank you. I couldn't find it. Right, like 5G technologies. We've got things like Starlink that are going to make internet accessible everywhere. Like all of these technologies are going to allow us to access more data from more places and correlate it more quickly than ever before. Like you don't put that genie back in the bottle. It's here. I think you could argue maybe that there's some opportunity for regulation, but I don't know. I think
what I would like to see, and these are words that aren't going to come out of my mouth very often. I would like to see regulation on how governments.
Well, that's a good. Well,
right? Because if I may give the example, so we talk about New York Transit, we talk about the New York City location, we talk about the city government. The day you say to me, and I actually believe this happens more than we think, but the day you say to me that New York Police Department is matching the people going on the subway to where they get off the subway, to what store they go into, and then what movie they watch, and then they come back and they start collecting that level of data at the government level. That's why I say my opinion is different. It's not that I like it in either case.
Yeah, the problem.
I would argue I'm okay with it to a certain level at the movie theater I go to. I am absolutely rabidly against it at the government
The thing
level.
is, I get what you're saying. We're already doing that to some degree. Like every time you walk into an airport, you know, your face is scanned. Somebody's pointed out the reason they have those man trap doors coming in and out of the airports at different places isn't necessarily so much to keep people from going one direction or the other, as much as it's to make you walk single file with certain distance between you so that the cameras can get a clear picture of your face as you come in. You know what I mean? Like we're doing stuff like that in a lot of places that people don't think about. Now, I don't think that, at least not that I'm aware, that there's communities, you know, cities that are doing it at the level you're talking about, but I don't think we're far from it. So it'll be interesting, especially now that, you know, pretty much all cops everywhere have body cams, right? Like what's to stop them from doing that directly from the, you know, the ground level police officers and vehicles and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah.
The
I see lots of problems.
Yeah.
But I also see lots of goodness.
Yeah. There was a
and
there was a case here, I think it was in Oklahoma, just maybe within the last couple of weeks, where a vehicle was stolen, and we've started replacing all of our you know, like the turnpike toll booth things. They've replaced them with license plate readers. And because of the license plate readers and whatever, they were able to find this stolen truck very quickly. That's not that much different, right? You're reading the number on the back of somebody's vehicle as opposed to their face, but it's basically the same technology.
But they also get a picture of your face.
Yeah, from the other side, right?
Right.
So, I mean, like to your point of, there's a lot of great potential things that can come out of this. It's just trying to figure out how you balance the cost, and I don't know what to do.
I've said this before. I believe this very firmly. The vast majority of technological advances, from everything to we got fire to we have holodecks, every single one of them has been used in some way to harm people. But the overwhelming result of that technological advance has been for the good. Right?
You're getting really philosophical here. I agree with you.
Right? Yeah. Like we look at, so the internet, there's lots of bad on the internet. But the accessibility that people have to things, in my opinion, outweigh every bit of bad on the internet, because the connectivity, the ability to learn, the ability to gain access to things that you don't have access to. I know for a fact, and I'm privileged to live in a decent sized city, and right, I know for a fact that my daughters have access to more knowledge, more people, more things that are good for them, right? one of my youngest daughter's best friends for years was in the Philippines. She didn't meet by going to the Philippines, right? She met because they both loved the same K-pop group. You know, that's good.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, interesting stuff to think about. It'll be. I'm really intrigued to see where things go from here. I think it's going to happen more quickly than people realize.
I think it's way further than people know, which will make that even worse. I agree with you. It's going to happen way quicker than people realize. But I think we're further down that road than most people acknowledge. And let's use this woman as an example, right? She assumed, oh yeah, we're not allowed in there, but you know.
How are they going to know? How are they going to catch me?
That's what I bet you she said. Like, she said, oh, I assumed it was overturned. No, you didn't assume it was overturned. You thought, how are they going to know me? I'm a cog in the wheel. Like, I'm just, they do.
Yeah, totally. Cool. Awesome. Well, let's wrap it up. If we haven't said this for a while, but if folks want to reach out, what's the best way to reach out and get a hold of you, Kevin?
Me? Oh, geez. They can grab me on Twitter, Secure Ideas. They can grab me on Mastodon. I don't remember my ID there.
Is that still a thing? Are people still doing the Mastodon thing?
Yes. I actually really like Mastodon, but I don't think Mastodon is a replacement for Twitter.
That's what I thought.
I think Mastodon is Mastodon and Twitter is Twitter. And or just email me, kevin@secureideas.com. Cool. Which means they can probably guess Nathan's.
Yes.
Email address.
Yes, mine also is Nathan@secureideas.com.
I like to say also as if mine was Nathan@secureideas.com.
That would be awkward.
It would be. No, I'd rather that.
Kathy is filling in here also.
Kathy just said, I'm going to post them in the episode notes. Tell them
Fair enough.
That's not how she phrased it, but that's how I'm reading it.
Cool. Well, Kevin, I look forward to episode 2. We'll try to do that in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, well, you and I are going to be together next week.
Oh, that's a good point. Maybe we need a special episode with Jason and Eric.
Yeah, for the people who don't know, the formal name of what we're doing is a leadership retreat. This is also known as beach trip. And we're going to go to the beach for a week, hang out and plan out 2023. And Kathy has been hinting that she could come and make all the food for us and it would be delicious.
I think there's probably a lot of volunteers if we opened it up and said, hey.
There's a lot of volunteers that are willing to go to the beach to help us out with our leadership meetings.
I can write another email and plead my case about why.
And Josh is like, I can help.
Awesome. Let's wrap it up. Well, thanks everybody. We'll chat with you next time.